The entire history of the galaxy hinged on a single laser gate. In our timeline, Qui-Gon Jinn was separated from his student, leaving Obi-Wan Kenobi to watch his master fall. However, a single-second difference in timing changes everything. If the red barrier separated Obi-Wan instead, leaving the young Padawan to face Darth Maul alone, it would completely rewrite the tragedy of Darth Vader. Dave Filoni, the creative force behind the Clone Wars, called this battle the Duel of the Fates, not because of the combatants, but because the fate of Anakin Skywalker hung in the balance. Today, we tell the story of the galaxy where the father lived and the brother died. The hum of the Theed generator room fills the air as Maul kicks Qui-Gon back to separate the two Jedi. In this reality, the timing shifts, so the ray shields close early, trapping Obi-Wan Kenobi in the corridor with the Sith Lord, while Qui-Gon watches helplessly from behind the barrier. Obi-Wan fights bravely, but he lacks the experience of a master. Maul feeds on the boy's aggression, parrying a desperate strike before driving his red blade through Kenobi's chest. When the shields drop, a roar of pure anguish escapes Qui-Gon, but he does not give in to rage. He enters the fight with cold, terrifying focus. Though he is a master of Ataru, he now fights with the weight of a teacher who has just lost a son. He dismantles Maul not with hate, but with the precise and brutal efficiency of a veteran who knows exactly what is at stake. This specific scenario came directly from a comment by user Galactic History Buff on our last video, so thank you to everyone engaging in the comments. We build these stories from your ideas. If you have a what if you want to see next, drop it down below as we read every single one. If you are enjoying this timeline, hit that subscribe button to join us for the next deep dive. The funeral pyre on Naboo burns, with Obi-Wan's body wrapped in the ceremonial cloak. This loss hits the Jedi Order differently, because the Council saw Obi-Wan as the model student, the rule follower, and the perfect Jedi. To Qui-Gon, he represents a failure of the teacher to protect the student. This guilt fundamentally changes Qui-Gon's approach to the Council. When Yoda objects to training Anakin by citing the boy's fear, Qui-Gon presents an ultimatum rather than an argument. He tells the Council he will train the boy, with or without their permission, and this time, his defiance carries a darker weight. The Council senses the Master's resolve, and perhaps feels the guilt of Obi-Wan's death, so they relent. They grant Anakin the rank of Padawan, while watching the pair with deep suspicion. This marks the most critical shift in the timeline. Obi-Wan was a brother to Anakin, who bickered, competed, and often criticized Anakin for not following rules that Anakin didn't understand. Qui-Gon acts as the father figure Anakin left behind on Tatooine. When Anakin has nightmares or feels fear, Obi-Wan would dismiss them by saying to be mindful of feelings, which taught Anakin to hide his emotions. Qui-Gon instead asks why he is afraid and validates the boy's feelings. He teaches Anakin that emotion itself is not the dark side, but rather how you handle it determines your path. Under Qui-Gon, Anakin learns to process his trauma rather than repress it. The resentment that fueled Vader never takes root because Anakin feels understood instead of judged. In our timeline, Anakin suffered for 10 years while wondering about his mother. Qui-Gon Jinn never cared for the Jedi Code's strict rules against attachment because he understood that love could be a strength. Within 2 years of taking Anakin as his apprentice, Qui-Gon would likely return to Tatooine to secure Shmi Skywalker's freedom. Whether by aggressive negotiation or simply buying her freedom, Qui-Gon ensures her safety. He sets her up on a safe world like Naboo rather than bringing her to the temple. Anakin is allowed to visit, which removes the foundational fear of loss that Palpatine later exploits. Anakin knows his mother is safe, meaning the visions of her death never happen. Count Dooku's fall to the dark side accelerated due to the death of his former apprentice, Qui-Gon. In this timeline, Qui-Gon lives, creating a massive problem for Darth Sidious. Dooku has already left the Order to work in the shadows, but he is not yet fully consumed by the Sith. When Dooku learns Qui-Gon is alive, he reaches out to recruit his old student, by showing him the corruption of the Senate. Qui-Gon agrees with the political assessment, but sees the darkness in Dooku. Instead of joining him, Qui-Gon exposes the plot early because he senses the dark side surrounding the creation of the clone army. Dooku is forced to flee earlier than expected, starting the separatist movement before the Jedi are caught entirely off guard. The bond between master and student becomes a tragic rivalry. The Clone Wars erupt, but the Jedi's role changes. In canon, the Jedi accepted their roles as generals without question, but Qui-Gon Jinn would fundamentally oppose this. He serves the living force rather than the Galactic Senate, and refuses to lead clones into battle, calling it a perversion of life. This causes a schism in the Order. Anakin remains loyal to his master and also refuses a command. While other Jedi die across the galaxy, Qui-Gon and Anakin become peacekeepers who travel to dispute zones, settle conflicts, and protect civilians rather than fighting droid armies. This keeps Anakin away from the front lines and the constant violence that hardened his heart. He becomes a protector instead of a soldier. Anakin still meets Padme, and the attraction is inevitable. Without the crushing pressure of Obi-Wan's adherence to the rules, Anakin talks to Qui-Gon about her. Qui-Gon once loved a Jedi named Tal, so he understands and advises caution rather than forbidding it. He tells Anakin that he can love, but he must not possess. Because Anakin doesn't have to hide his relationship, the toxicity of the secret never builds up. He and Padme might still marry, but it would be a choice rather than a shameful secret that Palpatine can hold over his head. Anakin might even leave the Order eventually to be with her, and Qui-Gon would support that decision, removing the fear of expulsion that trapped Anakin in the original timeline. Palpatine's entire strategy relied on being the father figure Anakin lacked. He offered praise when the Jedi offered criticism, and a listening ear when the Jedi offered dogma. In this timeline, Anakin has Qui-Gon. When Palpatine tries to whisper poison about the Jedi Council, Anakin simply nods and says that Master Qui-Gon says the same thing. Palpatine cannot drive a wedge between them. He tries to stroke Anakin's ego, but Qui-Gon has already taught Anakin to be humble. The Chancellor finds himself blocked at every turn and realizes that as long as Qui-Gon Jinn draws breath, the Chosen One cannot be turned. Palpatine's plans shift from turning Anakin to killing Qui-Gon Jinn. In the original timeline, Yoda assigned Ahsoka Tano to Anakin to teach him responsibility. Here, Qui-Gon recognizes that Anakin is already responsible. He might argue that Anakin isn't ready for a Padawan, or perhaps he takes Ahsoka on himself. Imagine Ahsoka Tano trained by the maverick Qui-Gon Jinn. She would thrive, and her eventual disillusionment with the Jedi Council would be something she and Qui-Gon discuss openly. When she is framed for the temple bombing, she doesn't have to run, because Qui-Gon would stand beside her in the trial, refusing to let the Council expel her. Ahsoka stays in the Order, or leaves with her head held high, maintaining her bond with Anakin, without becoming a source of guilt for him. The plot of the inhibitor chips and their secret programming to kill the Jedi was nearly discovered by Fives in our timeline. Qui-Gon Jinn was always skeptical of the cloning process and would likely have investigated this far sooner. Unlike the Council in their tower, Qui-Gon walked the lower levels and listened to the living. When a clone trooper starts acting strangely, Qui-Gon investigates and discovers the chips. He brings this evidence to the Jedi rather than the Chancellor. The plot of Order 66 is exposed before it can be executed, backing Palpatine into a corner as he loses his army's surprise element. With the clone conspiracy unraveling and Anakin unreachable, Palpatine has to act fast without waiting for the perfect moment. He initiates a version of Order 66, but it is chaotic. Many clones are aware of the chips, thanks to Qui-Gon's discovery, and refuse the Order. The Jedi Purge becomes a civil war within the clone ranks, rather than a slaughter. The Jedi Temple is attacked, but the Order survives. Palpatine is forced to reveal himself as Darth Sidious much earlier, standing alone against the light, without a new apprentice. The confrontation takes place in the Chancellor's office, but it involves Qui-Gon Jinn and a fully realized Anakin Skywalker, rather than Mace Windu alone. Palpatine unleashes his full power in a storm of lightning and malice. He tries one last time to tempt Anakin by promising power to save the galaxy. Anakin looks at Qui-Gon, the man who saved his mother, let him love, and believed in him when no one else did. Anakin ignites his blue blade with clarity rather than fear. Together, they are a perfect balance of the living force, where Qui-Gon's wisdom guides Anakin's raw power. Sidious cannot stand against the Chosen One when the Chosen One is whole. With the Sith destroyed, the Republic is in shambles, but still stands. The Jedi Order cannot go back to what it was, because Qui-Gon Jinn has proven the Council wrong on almost every count. The code is rewritten, so the Jedi are no longer secluded monks in an ivory tower. They are allowed to love, have families, and follow the living force. Anakin Skywalker becomes the face of this new order as a husband, a father to Luke and Leia, and a master who teaches that attachment is the very reason they fight. The prophecy is fulfilled by bringing balance to the Force through embracing the light in all its forms. Sometimes, in his meditations, Anakin might see a vision of a dark helmet, a red blade, and a galaxy crushed under an iron fist. He sees the suffering he might have caused and wakes up in a cold sweat. Looking at his wife and children, he thanks the Force for the day the ray shields separated Obi-Wan Kenobi instead of Qui-Gon Jinn. The tragedy of Darth Vader is the tragedy of a boy who just needed a father. In this world, he got one, and the galaxy was saved by a simple act of parenting. One death changed the course of history. The survival of Qui-Gon Jinn represents the victory of compassion over dogma, and the individual over the institution. It reminds us that people fall to darkness because they are alone, rather than because they are evil. Anakin Skywalker didn't need to be fixed. He just needed to be loved. If you enjoyed this journey into the timeline that should have been, make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next alternate history. Thanks for watching, and may the Force be with you.